this is also about coming into your body. So you feel more in your body. You feel more grounded in your body. You're more attuned. You're more intuitive. You're more energized. You're more energetically connected to everything around you. You're more creative.
I'm Amy.
I'm April.
Certified sex educators, sexperts of the year, and best-selling authors.
And we're on a mission to help you have more spicy, connected, and amazing shameless sex.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
We're so close, it's like we have our own language. We're making sex and relationships shameless.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back to the Shameless Sex podcast. This episode is with a celebrity.
It really is.
A celebrity.
It is an incredible gift to have her on the show.
Yes.
It was awesome. I was like, try not to get nervous.
I know. Yeah, it's super exciting. So Dr. Laura Berman, you already know because it's probably in the title. You'll hear in the bio. She's done so many things.
She has like 20 minutes of accreditation.
Oh my gosh.
How much she's done.
Do a whole episode on what
world.
she's done.
Yeah.
More like a whole series.
And I still learn things because I know her work.
Yeah.
I remember her from when she was on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Yeah.
And she has also she has a podcast. She has, I think now it's her 10th book, she said, Sex Magic.
Yeah.
And she's full of like so much useful information.
Totally.
That I had several aha moments. And
for sure.
The visualization that she helped me do as
Yeah.
well. You, not selfishly, you were there too.
All of us.
All
yeah.
of us
Anyone listening.
Well, no one's listened yet.
Yeah, the
so now
visualization.
they will.
You have to listen to that part. It's really cool. So yeah, Sex Magic, the antidote to bedroom boredom. We're discussing all that and more with her. She also shares a lot of like quick, easy tools and tips in this episode. And then that's also in her book. And I appreciate that, which is what helped, what inspired something I'm co-creating with my dear therapist friend Ian Strutton called Intimacy Rewired. We did an episode about this, episode 458, not that long ago. We are doing a 6-week program in the new year. This is in 2026. And we are accepting applications right now for people that want to join. You want to make working on your badass sexual and romantic or relational self in terms of the relationships that you're in better, but also with easy tools that you can do on your own. So to go learn more, go to listen to episode 458, or you can go, I believe, on our website, Shameless Sex. You can go there. I think there's a link, or go to intimacyrewired.com. And if you mention Shameless Sex, you get $100 off.
And there's an early bird special.
Heck yes.
Till December
And
1st,
scholarships.
which means you have 2 weeks because right now this is
Yeah.
right before the Thanksgiving holiday in America.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the 18th. So
Yeah.
December 1st is only a couple weeks away. Go get it.
And it's live. You get to hang out with me online for 6 weeks.
Or
You're
you
going to
can
get
watch
real
it
sick of me.
after if you don't have time. You can still
it's recorded.
You can still access it.
Yeah, we got all the things. We have another fun announcement coming up for all of you humans that love Magic Wand or own one or have owned one and have experiences with it, and you also like sharing stories.
Yes, and we love when people share their stories.
Yes.
So this is a free call to action and can be very fun for you.
Yes. So
because we deserve to hear your stories, and so does our audience.
Yes. So if you want to send us your sexy Magic Wand stories, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you used it in some way that isn't related to sex, you can go and call. We have a hotline, and we will put the info in the show notes so you don't have to remember it. But if you want it right now, it is 888-713-0607, extension 4.
Do we know that spells anything?
We can try
We need to figure that out. 888-713-0607, extension 4.
Extension
Who's that?
4.
Extension 1, 2, or 3?
I have no idea. I don't even know who's there.
Don't go there, okay,
Yes.
everyone?
So go call it, and you'll hear us being like, hello, Labras.
And it's anonymous.
It's anonymous.
It's anonymous, and we may feature you on the air, and this will be something that we do as purely entertainment and also
Just for
education.
funsies. Yeah.
And my partner just told me the other day he's having some hip issues, some
Yeah.
hip flexor issues. He'd be bummed if he knew I was sharing that with everyone, but it happens to
Yeah.
people. I've had shoulder issues, knee issues, and he was like, can you get the magic wand? And he was using it on his hip, and because the Theragun broke a couple months ago, and he says that the magic wand has been working better on his hip.
There you go.
Than the Theragun.
See
did.
the many uses.
It's so durable and awesome. So I'm stoked that we're doing this. I would have called in on our hotline and said that, but I just shared it
Yeah,
with everyone here.
So you can share stories like that. You can share wild stories of how you used it in a gangbang. I don't know, whatever it is, how it saved your marriage. And so,
made you squirt for the first time.
Yes.
I've had friends
all the
share that
things.
already with me.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So if you feel inspired, go call that hotline. As April said, it's anonymous and it may be featured in there. So people will hear your voice, but we won't share your info, and don't give us your name and all that stuff. And you can use
Unless you want to. If you want to use your
My
name.
name is Monty.
My name is Squirrel Zipper. Are there any squirrel zippers? I hope not. That sounds like animal abuse.
Call us if your name is Squirrel Zipper, please. And speaking of our sex question today, we had 2 questions in the last couple of weeks about Magic Wand from two different people. I believe they're both penis owners, both men.
Oh, nice.
So they're super easy. Number 1 is, which one should I buy? Because there's a number of different ones.
These are 2 different people.
2 different humans.
What one should I buy? Okay.
So which one should I buy? And
that's funny.
Yeah.
All of them.
And then number 2 is someone asking the difference between Magic Wand and this other brand called Lay Wand. Because of the price, this person bought his wife the Lay Wand, petite, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's like low wand, by the way.
Or low wand.
Because lay would have LES or something.
Le wand.
But it's not French.
Okay, then it's not French. And so that this person is asking, interested in Magic Wand and wants to know what the difference is or what they should buy. So let's start with number 1. Which one should I buy in terms of the differences? So there's rechargeable. There's the original, which has a cord.
Which is rechargeable?
The waterproof rechargeable. There's the plus, which also is the original with a cord, but is waterproof, or not waterproof, sorry, has multiple settings.
Right. It doesn't just have one, the low,
high and higher.
And it's silicone on the head.
Easier to clean, yes. And then there's the micro, there's the mini, which is like half the size
almost
of those.
like a microphone size, that one.
Yes. And then there's the micro, which is the tiny one.
That I want on my tree as ornaments.
Yes.
But even if they vibrate, then I can take one up.
Or you can keep it in your purse.
I actually need to ask Sarah Tom Chesson, hey, can you just donate some for a good cause, some micros?
Yeah. I'd say you could ask them if they have any of the defective ones, but they're like never defective.
I gave my niece who was buying Amazon bullet vibes, who didn't come to me and ask me for sex toys ever.
And
she was like all ashamed, and her boyfriend, soon to be fiance, because I think he's not going to remember, he was like, hey, do you have any suggestions about what I should get? She's buying these Amazon bullets and they keep breaking. And I was like, first of all, don't ever buy another Amazon bullet as long as you are in my life. And he was like, what? And I gave her, but he requested a micro Magic Wand, and she said it's the best.
It's the best. It's so
definitely going to be better than an Amazon bullet.
Yes,
but she said it's so powerful, because I asked her, I'm like, hey, can you talk to me about it? What do you think? And she said, thank you. It's amazing, and it looks like a little mini Magic Wand.
Yeah, it's like
a little baby.
Yeah, it's small, lightweight,
powerful.
Yeah,
and you still have some more settings. But with this person, if it's a penis owner.
Well, okay, so regardless, so going through the differences of them, so the rechargeable, the original, and the plus. So the rechargeable is either you can buy the regular rechargeable or you can buy the waterproof one.
I personally feel like the waterproof one has more power than the rechargeable. And I don't know if there's proof behind this, but I swear to you, because I have all of them in my drawer.
Yeah.
And when some of them die because I forget to charge them, I notice a difference, but they're both super powerful.
Yeah.
People are probably like, whoa, your vulva can't feel some of that as much. I'm like, man.
So they're both so those four, the rechargeable waterproof, the original, and the plus are all larger size toys, right? They're like, I don't know, maybe the size of like your forearm or something like that, depending on your forearm.
The classic wand,
and they all pack a lot of power, a ton of power.
Yeah.
So, but April's saying, so if you want rechargeable, meaning you never have to buy, well, not batteries, so you don't want to be stuck on a cord. You can kind of like move around with it. It still is very powerful, but April's saying the rechargeable waterproof to her, one, you get the waterproof function, which is nice. Yeah. And you're saying it packs a little more power.
I think someone else can send in a story and tell me if they think that's not the case. I do believe that is the case.
So if you want something with a little more power and is waterproof and rechargeable, then that would be the one for you. Now, if you still want a lot of power and you like the corded aspect, you don't have to charge it. It's always ready to go. Or you don't care about the cord. There's the original, which is just the amazing OG. That's the 2 speeds that we said, high and higher, strong and stronger. Right.
I wonder, does that have the silicone head now on it?
I don't think it does.
Because I still have the OG one that I got at purepleasureshop.com back in the day.
Yeah.
And it has the vinyl head.
It's still going.
It's still going. Yeah. Special moments. But I think, so don't quote me on that, but I think their new originals might have the silicone head. And maybe if not, the plus does.
The plus is known, for having the silicone head, and it isn't just the 2 speeds. It has you have like variable speeds. So you can play with that more.
But it has to be plugged in as well.
Yeah, so it has to be plugged in. So if you with those, if you so say you want one that has the cord, right? Then do you want the basic one that has super high and higher, just the 2 speeds, or I mean, I would choose the plus because I would want the more variable speeds, and
then it doesn't ever run out of juice. And when you're during playtime, that's a womp, womp,
Well,
womp.
yeah, or you could get one of each of these too. And then if you're someone that wants something that's a little bit smaller but still powerful, maybe not like crazy powerful, but I use the mini magic wand. That's the one I personally use.
Yeah.
And that's enough power for me, and it's not too big.
I take that one to go when I go on trips because it's not as big as the other ones. So I don't own a micro still.
Yeah, I mean I've tried a micro and I liked it, and the micro actually worked for me, but I personally am someone that wanted a little more power. So I would say the micro is really good for someone who wants the more like the smaller travel option, maybe a little less power. You're just gonna use it, on or around the clitoris, and you're not looking for the thing that you can go put on your hip flexor or something like that. So those are the differences. So I hope that's enough information for you to figure out which one to choose.
It's not ours to tell them there's one that's better. It's what you prefer.
I mean, you and I both said, so if we're doing rechargeable, we get the waterproof. If we're doing corded, we'd get the plus. And then it depends on if the micro or mini suits your fancy.
And some people don't want as much of a product in their bedtime situation. I know that used to happen with my partner. He was like, the baseball bat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so the mini it's been incorporated more often than I think that the other ones are. But that was a good question. That's a good question. I hope that he's listening, or you said penis owner,
And then for the other human that's asking lay wand versus magic wand, I've only tried, not lay, would you say?
It's le wand.
I've only tried le wand once. I don't know which one it was. Magic wand is the original creators of the wand style vibrator, and this is all they do, and they do it really well. Magic wands are known to be more thuddy, rumbly, powerful, and the materials themselves are really sturdy, but can be a little more on the lightweight side, depending on what size you get. Whereas lay wand can be known to be a little more buzzy and on the heavier side in terms of the materials of the product, which means more weight for your hands. It puts more stress or strain on your body. So I'd say if you're someone that really, really likes power, magic wand, or I mean, we're just ride or die magic wand people. If you are a buzzy person, you don't want that like thuddy rumbly thing, maybe lay wand's your thing. We are all about the rumbles. Like for April and I, and maybe you probably can attest to this, like we use the magic wand externally, we're feeling it deep inside of ourselves. Doesn't even need to be inside of ourselves. You've squirted with it, right? So and so lay wand probably can do those things. It just has a different feeling.
That's what helped me squirt for the first time. Magic wand.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was
happening. It helped a lot of people squirt.
And I will say I haven't had a Le Wand, but I've had another wand. I won't say because I don't want to shame any other companies, but I actually had to get 2 of them and they both died.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you could go back to episodes past
Yeah.
and it's not a lie. I had them and I loved it at the time because it had texture. But I will say that the quality of magic wand, I've never had to replace one single magic wand, even when we have their prototypes.
You had one from like 15 years ago.
Is it even? I feel like 2008 I bought that thing.
Yeah.
And that was 2008.
Wild.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it still works, still plugs in. And I'm praying that it never doesn't work. So I won't say anything about Le Wand because I haven't tried their products. I have no need to.
Yeah.
And I know that price point wise, Magic Wand offers a lot, like a great deal for
magic. I do know Le Wand is not necessarily cheaper either. So it's just like
I don't believe so. I think that Magic Wand, they're just the classic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like buying a vintage car, but then in an updated version.
Totally.
And it works.
And you get what you pay for.
I love Magic Wand.
Yeah. So so for everyone listening, number 1, go look at the show notes for that phone number so we can get your Magic Wand stories. Number 2, if you're any of these people that wrote in or you're listening and you want your own Magic Wand, you can go to purepleasureshop.com, use coupon code Shameless Sex. You get 15% off. Not just Magic Wand, everything on the site. Let's hear about the amazing Dr. Berman.
All right, bio time, everyone.
Bio time.
Dr. Laura Berman is a world-renowned sex, love, and relationship therapist. She is a columnist for USA Today, a New York Times best-selling author who has written 10 books, and host of the popular love and sex advice podcast, The Language of Love. In addition to her regular appearances in daytime and news media, Dr. Berman was also the sex and relationship expert on The Oprah Winfrey Show and has starred in 4 television series. To learn more, go to drlauraberman.com.
All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we have a fantastic guest who's actually quite the celebrity, Dr. Laura Berman. And I'll say author of Sex Magic, which is her newest book, but author of so many books. She was on the Oprah Winfrey show. She's done so many. I can't even share all the things with you. You already heard a little bit about her in the bio. A lot of you probably already have heard of her and know who she is. But we are super excited today to have her on the show for the first time and to talk about what is sex magic, the antidote to bedroom boredom. That's just a small part of the answer. So welcome to our show. So happy to have you. And can you please tell us and our listeners a little bit more about how you got into the field of sexuality?
Well, that we could talk about for an hour. But I've been doing this for 30 years. I started off, honestly, as a couples therapist. That's what I was getting trained to do. And you know, when you're in graduate school, you have supervisors where you start seeing clients and then you go to your supervisor and say, okay, they, have this problem where they're fighting about XYZ. And then the supervisor says, okay, here's how you address it. Here's what you do. You go back, then you go back. Your supervisor's basically coaching you on what to do in the sessions. And so when I started working with couples, I would go and bring up these sexual issues that they were presenting. And I'm someone this is where the hour-long conversation would happen. But I'm very, I grew up for many reasons, very comfortable talking about sex, and it just was not a big deal to me. And so I think in large part because of that, couples were naturally bringing those issues up as you would in a couples therapy session. But when I brought them to my supervisor, she kind of treated me like I was a perv. Like she was like looking at me like, why are these couples talking to you about their sexual issues? And I was kind of flummoxed thinking, well, why wouldn't they? How can you do couples therapy without addressing sexual issues? And I very quickly discovered that in fact, you can do that. And most of the couples therapists, and certainly all of my supervisors and professors, did that. They did not address sexual issues. And in many cases, their clients didn't bring it up, or they brought it up and the therapist would say, oh, well, we have to deal with your trust issues first or whatever. And then they would never come back to the sex issues. So I decided to I talked my way into a fellowship training program that was for medical students in sex therapy. And obviously I was not a medical student, but I talked my way in and I went through fellowship training, and actually my doctoral dissertation ended up being the variables involved in a clinician's willingness to address sexual concerns, because I've always been really surprised, and it pisses me off that the majority of couples therapists don't address sex. And quite frankly, it pisses me off that the majority of sex therapists don't address relationship issues. So I don't know. That's how I guess that's a short, long-winded version of how I got into this.
Out of the pure need. And the world needs you. We love your work. And
thank you.
You've had, you mentioned 10 books, I believe,
This is
Sex
my
Magic.
10th.
That's congratulations. That is quite an achievement. And you were the expert, I believe, sex and relationship expert on Oprah. That's where I remember your work from initially. And it's such an honor to have you here. And I guess the first question to go into is, what inspired you to write Sex Magic, and how is it different from all of your other previous amazing work?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I honestly didn't think I had another sex book in me. My agent was asking, I was like, I have zero interest in regurgitating something else I've written and calling it something else. I've said everything I could possibly say about sex. But then honestly, the pandemic hit. And I started seeing these trends in relationships, a lot of the issues that I was seeing before, now on steroids. But, in particular, where I had always been super pro porn, and not pro porn, but supportive of porn having a healthy place in a healthy relationship, it was interesting to watch because Pornhub, as an act of public service, went free during the pandemic. And then, because people were stuck at home and looking for outlets and looking for ways to self-soothe, we started seeing a huge increase, certainly in addiction, whatever. We don't have to talk about that. That's not what we're talking about this episode. But I started seeing real shifts in what was happening in relationships. And so basically my whole career, the number one question I would get asked is, how do you spice it up? And mostly in a long-term relationship, right? How do you do that? Which is a good question. And what I was seeing is that I could give you 365 tips, tools, toys, role plays, whatever. And after a year or maybe a year and a half, because you do some of them more than once, that had lost the novelty. And so what I saw coming out of the pandemic is not only a lot of couples in crisis for all the obvious reasons, but a lot of people seriously addicted to dopamine, and struggling in a million different ways, in particular sexually and romantically because of that. And so what they were trying to do to assuage the need for dopamine, they're not even aware that they're addicted to, their brain is now addicted to dopamine, which is, the same part of the brain that lights up when you're doing coke. It's the addiction center of the brain. It's the same part of the brain that is lit up like crazy when you're newly in love. So couples were unconsciously seeking that dopamine hit and ways that were putting their relationships at risk, or saying, let's open our relationship or bring in a third partner, which, by the way, I'm not at all opposed to. However, it requires such a level of pristine communication, self-awareness, personal, emotional maturity, communication that frankly most couples don't have. And it ends up really harming the relationship rather than helping it. And so so as my clients were coming to me, I was like, well, I can help you. So my first question always to people when they are looking for something is to ask, what do you want to feel? Because everything we want, whether it's a new car, a new job, a new partner, a partner to show up a certain way, whatever it is, we're looking for a feeling or a set of feelings, right? That's what's underneath everything. How I'm going to feel driving that car or looking at it in the driveway or whatever. I'm going to feel when I wake up next to that person. So I started asking, okay, you spice it up. What do you want? What does that mean? How would you feel? How do you feel in a relationship that feels spicy? And what I kept getting was some version of intense excitement, right? The same thing that dopamine gives you, that intense excitement. I was like, oh, well, I can give you that. In fact, our ancestors for thousands of years have known how to create this, especially in a loving relationship. You can create it with yourself, inside yourself, with yourself through self-stimulation, and you can create it with someone else, even more so when you have a level of emotional intimacy as a container to hold it. And so that's what led to Sex Match.
Yeah, the dopamine piece, the seeking of something that lights you up. And I understand that the part about also like, how do you want to feel? I love that. I think it's a really important question to ask people. And a lot of people have no idea, right? The response is like good or happy or hot. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's break that down a little bit more.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
what
the
does
book
that
will help.
mean?
Yeah, so what's beneath that, or how can we expand that? And there's so much more we'll discuss on this episode. All right, shameless listeners, I have a confession. I've been replacing my nightly doom scrolling with something way hotter and honestly way more useful.
Okay, you have to tell us, is it a vibrator or some kind of spicy new audiobook?
Close. It's the Masterclass app. Instead of learning about my ex's cousin's new dog, I've been taking a class from the one and only Shan Boudram on the art of sex appeal. The way she breaks down confidence and connection, I use this stuff and you should too. It's a total game changer.
Yes, it is. I love her class. And I went from Shan Boudram straight to Esther Perel's class on strengthening relationships. It's like having the world's best experts right in your pocket, ready to help you level up your love life, your career, your everything.
With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. The lessons are bite-sized, so you can listen on your commute, while you're doing chores, wherever. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's literally no risk.
It is the ultimate self-care gift. Seriously, you owe it to yourself. Masterclass always has great offers during the holidays, sometimes up to as much as 50% off. Head over to masterclass.com/shameless for the current offer.
That's up to 50% off at masterclass.com/shameless. Masterclass.com/shameless.
All right, let's talk about that internal glow up. You know, the kind that makes your sex life feel like it's been upgraded to first class. For us, that upgrade is powered by our friends at VB Health.
We don't just like their supplements, we live by them. VB Health's whole mission is creating sexy science that actually works. Everything is doctor formulated, third-party tested, and made in the USA, so you know it's pure, safe, and ready for your pleasure.
My non-negotiable is still soaking wet. It's a daily ritual that keeps my vagina flora happy and my natural lubrication on point. And my partner gets to enjoy what we affectionately call the super soaker experience. It's a win-win.
Fun. And for the penis havers, Load Boost is the real MVP. More volume, more power. It's a noticeable difference you can both feel and your partner can taste. Then there's Dry Boost, our holy grail for everyone. It has scientifically backed ingredients to turn up your desire dial without any jitters.
Ready to invest in your orgasm from the inside out? Head to vb.health and use code SHAMELESS for 10% off your order. That's vb.health, code SHAMELESS. Trust us, your body and your lover will thank you. The link is right there in the show notes.
So our understanding is sex magic involves creating a deeper spiritual connection in relationships as part of one of the components of it. What does that mean, and how does it apply to people who aren't into spirituality or think of spirituality as religion?
It has nothing to do with religion. It's basically turning, like I like to say, it turns SEX, the acronym becomes Sacred Energy Exchange. So here's the bottom line. We know this. In my last book, Quantum Love, I went deep into the weeds of not only the science of this. So if you want to geek out on all the evidence, I'm not going to spend time proving all the evidence of what I'm saying, but I get into all the science of it in Quantum Love and also how to use it in a profound, like a Jedi mind trick in your relationship to really have your partner show up. And it's really the secret behind manifesting, or the law of attraction, or secret. It's quantum physics, essentially. But at our core, we're all pure vibrating energy. We seem solid, right? I'm looking at you guys on a computer screen and talking through a microscope. I'm watching you as two separate humans, separate from me. I'm separate from this computer. But if we were to look at all of this through an atomic microscope at the smallest atomic level, there is no separation between us. We're all vibrating atoms. We are not solid, even though we seem solid. And it turns out that our bodies hold an energetic frequency. So you think of like an old-fashioned radio with the station, the frequency, and the volume, how intense that frequency is. And so all of these scientists before me have figured out how to calibrate the frequencies that a human body holds, which is primarily set by our conscious and unconscious thoughts and feelings. And what I discovered, and this is backed up by the science, is that when we get clear, so it's our unconscious thoughts and feelings that set our body's frequency, right? And we are like human tuning forks. So we're constantly matching each other's energy and finding the happy medium, unless you're someone like me or someone who practices quantum love and walks into a setting, an interview, a room, already holding your own frequency, right? So I came in here holding open curiosity. You guys are probably meeting me there. Hopefully the audience is meeting us here. That, anyone who's listening to this is vibrating in harmony with our frequencies, or they wouldn't even be aware of us, because we're taking 40 billion bits of information into our brains every millisecond and only consciously processing 2,000 of them. And a huge part of what we are aware of and perceive with our five senses, we can only perceive things that are vibrating with our atomic frequency. This is not me making this up. All the science is there. So what happens with quantum sex is, just let me tell you in a practical sense. For most of us, when you get aroused or you start sexual stimulation, whether it's through self-stimulation or by a partner, you feel it in your genitals or maybe in your pelvic region. When you orgasm, you're feeling it mostly localized to that area. A lot of what I'm teaching you in sex magic is how to move that energy through your body, move it, have literally mind-blowing orgasms, circle it between the two of you. And so what I mean by making sex spiritual or making it a sacred energy exchange is that you start to tap into the energy of the sensations of your sexual arousal. And it is a creative energy in and of itself. And you learn, and I've taught this to people who are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and not into the metaphysical one little millimeter. They live in a fully 3D world. And I've taught it to people who spend their time meditating in their Zen den in their room and everything in between. But you're learning how to move that energy. And so when you start to do this together, and one of the things I love about it is that it's amazing when your partner is willing to do this with you, but they don't have to. And this is one of the secrets of quantum love too. When you start practicing these things, your partner will feel it, whether you tell them what you're doing or not. And there are all of these techniques that start working with moving the energy between you, and the feelings of intense eroticism, arousal, and excitement are off the charts compared to regular sex. And I'm talking about kinky sex, whatever sex. I don't mean just like missionary quickies. I mean, it's really profound arousal. And when the two of you can start consciously doing this together, there is a level of emotional intimacy and sacredness, nothing to do with religion, just a sense of deep awareness of each other as not just a person, but a being. And, even a simple practice like soul gazing, which is a tantric practice where you, and this is a very basic one, but where you put your hand over your partner, you sit across from each other, put your hand over one another's heart. So you put your right hand, over their heart, which would be directly across from your right hand, and vice versa. And you stare into the eye above your hand, deeply into their eyes. Most people can't do that for 5 seconds at first without giggling or cringing. And I'm wanting you to do it for 3 minutes. And by the end of a minute, you are like going into their soul, even if you don't believe in souls. Like you are seeing something and feeling something that is much deeper than the external. And it's been really fun for me to teach people this because it takes sex to a totally different level. And we're not even talking about using sex for manifesting yet. That's a different cover.
Well, okay. So I'm wondering, because this is a lot about spirituality, sexual energy, the quantum love piece, which I love that you talked about frequencies and people's energy. I have a theremin. Are you familiar with the theremin? It's it's the nerdiest instrument ever.
It's really fun to watch her do.
And it's, you calibrate it, and each person has to be recalibrated because we all have a different frequency.
Yes.
And it's incredible because my partner tries to play it, and it has a volume and the antenna, and it reminds me of what you're talking about. If anyone out there doesn't know what a theremin is, go Google it and you will nerd out because it is such a fun instrument. And that might help you tap into maybe that connection. I have no idea. That's just not my recommendation. Actually, it's a hard instrument to play. But I'm wondering, Dr. Berman, if you can explain more, because you touched on it a little bit, and I'm so intrigued, how sexual energy can be channeled into this deeper, even more spiritual connection.
Well, sexual energy is creative energy. It's the energy of creation. It's what creates life, but it's also the key to our creative flow. Whether we're writing a song, doing a podcast, whatever it is we're creating in the world, a beautiful dish for our family, whatever it is, it's key to our life force and our creative energy. And most of us just, especially I find women, and we're taught to unconsciously, this isn't conscious, have a relationship with sex where we see it as a means to an end. It's a way to get an orgasm. It's a way to get off. It's a way to get the guy. It's a way to get pregnant. It's a way to repair after a fight. It's a means to an end. There's nothing wrong with that. It is all of those things. And it is something that not only is phenomenally good for your body and your health, it is when you start to open the channels, especially in this more sacred energy, when you start to attune to the energy of your sexuality, your sexual arousal, you start to really experience that internally and become aware. It's very subtle, especially at first, but become aware of the way that energy moves through you. It unlocks so many beautiful levels of creative energy and life energy. You feel more energized. You feel more in your body. A lot of what I teach in the book is how to connect to your body. Our bodies, most of us aren't in there We're even during sex, we're thinking, oh shit, did I close the windows or what's gonna, we're distracted and our brains are being trained to be distracted on social media. So now it's extra distracted, even when we're not on there. Talk about dopamine addiction, right? So this is also about coming into your body. So you feel more in your body. You feel more grounded in your body. You're more attuned. You're more intuitive. You're more energized. You're more energetically connected to everything around you. You're more creative. You feel more creative inspiration. You feel more creative energy. You feel more in your divine masculine or feminine. There's so many aspects to it.
Yeah. And so it's, I mean, a lot of people think of sex as its own thing, right? I work on my sex life and it helps my sex life. Or I work on my financial world, it helps my financial world. And I believe what you're speaking to and what we know is it's all connected, right? It's all supporting all the aspects of your life. And maybe one is more important to you to work on, yet staying open to how it can really funnel or feed into these other aspects. I think you already answered this question-ish, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So why do you think so many couples lose the spark in their relationships, and how does sex magic specifically address that?
It's the default. Listen, monogamy is not natural. We are actually, when you look at our evolutionary history, and there's so much beautiful writing on this. One of my favorite teachers and evolutionary anthropologists, Helen Fisher, unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago, which was such a loss, but she wrote a lot on this and was a hardcore scientist. But basically, in our evolutionary history, we are actually programmed for serial monogamy. And it actually pans out when you look at the divorce rates around the world. The highest divorce rate is when the youngest child reaches about 3 years old. And this is what the evolutionary anthropologists said, is that from the data and the research and the findings and the archaeological digs and everything else, that basically we created what they call sex contracts. That's what we evolved to have. So the woman would say, listen, while I'm pregnant and right after I give birth, when this baby is really dependent on me, I'm not going to be able to gather the nuts and berries like I normally would and protect against predators and pay attention to the social bonds, all the things that I would normally be doing for my survival. I can't do that. So I need you to hunt for us and to protect us. So I'm only going to have sex with you so you can be guaranteed these genes are yours, right? So this baby is definitely yours that you're protecting. And in exchange, you're going to invest your protection and resources and meat, hunts and whatever to us only, like we're your main priority. And then when the baby was like 3 years old and can hop on her back or walk alongside her, then they would be like, okay, all good. We're going on to a new pair bond now. And it wasn't until, farming started. It started as a business arrangement. We're going to stay together and work this land and have kids to help us work this land and not invest our resources elsewhere. And then it became a religious institution. But when monogamy for life was created, we didn't live. Living to 50 was the equivalent of being 95 today, So monogamy for life was not that long of a time. Now it is. And so I'm a huge fan of it. I've been monogamous with my husband for 25 years. I love it. But it does not, and there's beautiful advantages to it, I think, but it requires attention. So I always say to people I spent a lot of time in the Midwest, and being in a relationship, in a love monogamous relationship, it's like being on a really long farm road, where your natural inclination is to get kind of spaced out and take your hands off the wheel, and you slowly veer off course until the next thing you know, you're deep in the cornfields, right? And so the key in maintaining a healthy monogamous relationship is to keep your hands on the wheel. You're not going to, you're going to take them off, but to start noticing when you start veering off course sooner rather than later and bringing yourself back to center. And that's in all aspects, taking each other for granted, communication, quality time, all of those things, which of course play into sex, and sex plays into that. But even sexually, so what we need to be in a healthy and to feel good in a healthy monogamous relationship is a sense of familiarity and safety and containment. That is so important. And it is the opposite of dopamine. It is not exciting, right? That's the whole point of safety. It's predictable, right? So monogamy actually can act counterintuitively to the typical ways we create sexual excitement. That's why so much of my career was like, okay, let me teach you this way to swing from the chandeliers. Let me show you, give you these costumes, do the fail, all that. Great. But the novelty of that will wear off quickly too. With sex magic, it doesn't wear off. You just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Okay. And this is something you talk about, which is, and you touch on it a little bit, and I'm hoping you can dive a little deeper for our audience. It's removing the blocks to intimacy.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you touched on a few of those, which I like the veering off course. That visual was really powerful because you don't want to get lost in the cornfield maze, okay? Especially if it's 6 foot tall and you can't find your way out.
Then you need someone like me.
Yeah, you need sex. Then you get sex magic, or you get that even before you go off course, okay? This is the whole thing, having the tools.
Fact. Most pussy owners need some sort of clitoral stimulation to orgasm, and many are not having orgasms from penetrative sex.
Say what?
I know, right? This is one of the many reasons why we are obsessed with OMG Yes. Not only has it changed our lives in the orgasm department, but I've been recommending OMG Yes to my clients for years, and it's completely changed their sex lives as well. OMGS features scientific research of real vulva owners, aka women, showing techniques to pleasure the pussy. They turn the research into tasteful, educational short videos, animated modules, and infographics for easy visual learning.
They call it OMGS for a reason, because OMGS is for anyone who wants to learn about pussy pleasure or take it to the next level. Whether you're a beginner or someone who wants to take your orgasms from good to mind-blowing, then you need to check out OMG Yes. They have 3 seasons: external pleasure, internal pleasure, and sex toys. It's not a subscription service, y'all, so you don't need to download a single thing. And it's great for partners who want to pleasure that pussy too. And for listeners of our show, OMGS is offering 10% off when you go to omgyes.com/shameless. Again, that's omgyes.com/shameless to receive 10% off unlimited access towards enhancing your pleasure power forever. Newsflash, everybody. We are picky about our lubes.
Can we say uber picky?
Yes, we can. And let me tell you all why Uber Lube is our absolute favorite lube ever. Uber Lube is a luxurious silicone lubricant that I want all over my body. Yes, it's designed for sex because it enhances intimacy while allowing you to still feel the skin-on-skin contact, but it feels so good that I want it everywhere. Uber Lube is long-lasting, leaves your skin feeling velvety smooth, and it's there when you want it, but then it dissipates when you're done.
Yes! Aside from using Uber Lube for all of my sexy sessions, and I use it all the time, I also use it for massages, for my hair frizzies, to prevent chafing, and it brings out the color of your beautiful tattoos. Thousands of doctors and therapists in the US alone are recommending Uber Lube to their patients because it's body-friendly, less likely to change the pH, and has vitamin E so it feels moisturizing on the skin. Uber Lube has no flavor or scent, which means it's also great for oral sex. And it comes in a beautiful glass bottle with a pump top, which means easy access to Pleasure Town.
Want to see why we think Uber Lube is the best lube in the world? Then go to uberlube.com and use discount code SHAMELESS to get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com right now with code SHAMELESS for 10% off and free shipping. So can you talk a little bit more about some of those common blocks that you touched on a little bit and that most couples will face or maybe are facing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about I like to talk, we'll talk about the blocks, but I really like to talk even more about like how to maintain the emotional connection hygiene of the relationship. So let's start by saying that women, and I did a national study with Rand about what the most sexually satisfied women have in common. And it's not orgasm, although orgasms are important. That's not the key to their sexual satisfaction. The key is the emotional connection and closeness they feel with the person they just had sex with. That was the biggest predictor for sexual satisfaction. And for the feminine, so that could be for the woman in the relationship or whoever happens to be more in their feminine, in order for there to be sexual attraction, you have to have a polarity where one of you, regardless of gender, needs to be more in their masculine and the other more in their feminine. The one that lives more in their feminine is inspired to be sexual because they feel emotionally close to the person they're having sex with. The one who is more in their masculine feels emotionally close because they are having physical intimacy, right? So this is the sex romance stalemate we see in so many heterosexual relationships, for instance. I mean, it can be in any relationship, but just for the sake of example, she, because of stress, kids, distractions, perimenopause, menopause, a million different things, is less interested, less available sexually. So she's not accepting the initiations. She's not initiating. That sexual energy just isn't there. And to her, it's just a small part of her relationship satisfaction, right? Because she feels close to him when they talk about their day and they're kissing and cuddling or holding hands or tuned in emotionally. But what she doesn't realize is that because he achieves a sense of closeness through the physical act of sex, and he's not even aware of this himself necessarily, when sex isn't happening, he doesn't have his means to get there to the place of closeness that she comes to naturally. So he's less emotionally available. He's less tuned in and tapped in. He's not sending those sweet texts. He's not as aware, not because he's trying to punish you, but just because he doesn't have it's not connecting for him. And then she's that much less interested in being sexual and he's that much less emotionally intimate. And that's when we see those stalemates. So a lot of this is about learning to speak each other's language. A lot of what I talk about in terms of the blocks of intimacy is also in terms of addressing your own inhibitions around sexuality, around sexual freedom. It's about connecting more deeply to your partner, not only sexually, but emotionally. And there's so many simple practices that I share in the book that if you did for even 2 weeks consistently, you would see such a drastic change in your connection. Even without having, I mean, it's great if you can have sex too, but even if you aren't having sex, to foster more emotional connection. Like one of the things I talk about is giving your partner 5 genuine expressions of appreciation a day. And there's a very specific reason for this, that, where attention goes, energy flows. So if I were to say to you right now, we won't do this because I don't want you to have dead air on your podcast, but if I were to say, take 15 seconds right now and just look around the room you're in, and notice everything that's orange or yellow, right? Like just notice everything, take note of it, because you're going to come back and tell me about it. And then after that, you've looked around for yellow. You've come back, okay, the light, the lamp, the couch cushion, whatever. You come back and I say, okay, now tell me everything that was blue. Mm-mm. Right? You're not going to be able to tell me so when you decide my partner is selfish or not romantic or not attending to me, you will always find evidence for what your story is. You will find evidence everywhere, and that's where your energy is going. When you start looking for 5 things, which feels like a lot to some people, 5 things to appreciate about your partner, even things they're supposed to be doing. You always make dinner, he always washes the dishes, whatever. I'm so glad I don't have to wash the dishes. I'm so glad that after dinner, I get to go hang out and watch a movie or play with the kids or whatever, so looking and expressing that appreciation, now you're training your lens to look for things to appreciate. And the energy that you're putting toward them feels totally different to them, whether they realize it or not, they experience it differently. And you're modeling to them where they can start giving you appreciation back. But you're changing the energy. If just one of you starts changing the energy around each other, the other can't help but match you. This is called entrainment. This is what I teach in Quantum Love. So when you're holding the frequency of appreciation, even 5 times a day around your partner, not only are they enjoying receiving the appreciation, your partner and your kids and the people close to you will naturally, if you hold an energy state, they will always match you there. That's where the Jedi mind trick comes in. So you have to use it for good. Mm-hmm. So that's just a simple practice, but there's so many practices like that that if you do them on the regular will change everything in your relationship for the better.
Well, that's perfect because that was going to be our next question. You just gave us one little taste of a practice. And as you said, Sex Magic includes a lot of practical exercises. Can you share one more of your favorites with us?
Yeah, I do. And I do this with my husband, and it was really cute. He didn't realize fully I didn't realize, I didn't tell him, but he didn't realize fully what I was doing on my end until like a few years ago when he was watching me speak somewhere and I was sharing about this. And he's like, wow, I didn't know you did that. And since then, he's been even more gung ho for this. But every morning, we give each other a 30-second hug, heart to heart. And also, I highly recommend a 10-second kiss when you wake up in the morning, when you first see each other in the morning, when you leave each other, when you come back together, and before you go to bed. 10 seconds feels like a long time. Do it in front of the kids. You don't have to make out, but boy, does that fuel the energy between you. But the 30-second hug, you're heart to heart, and you're imagining pulling beautiful energy up from the earth to your heart, or even from above. I love to pull it from above, light. And I just imagine beautiful light pouring in the top of my head, filling my heart. And then I send it into his while I'm hugging him. And I say to myself, because this is important for me as a recovering codependent, but I think for all of us, is I choose you today. Because when you are in choice, that, at least in my system, I hold that as like, I'm in choice. If I'm in choice, I can get my needs met. If I can't live without him, not that I wouldn't be devastated and curl up into a ball for a long time if something happened to him, I still know I would be okay, right? And so if you know you're okay, and that's the act of choosing someone versus I can't live without you, literally, then you can get your needs met. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can't.
Oh, I think you're touching on a lot of different factors that are going to be key to helping people really figure out, navigate. I had several aha moments while you were speaking, and I really value this wisdom that you're sharing for free right now, but I know there's going to be a lot more that you can grab from it at your own pace if you buy the book, which is great, which we won't get there quite yet because there's a couple more things that we want to ask you. And you touched on this a tiny bit as well, but I think it's good to get like a deeper perspective from you because you're so wise. And novelty, we've spoken about it on the show a lot. There's other experts in the field of sex and relationship that talk about how that's the key to keeping things exciting. And what I'm hearing from you is that intensity is more important. So can you speak to why intensity is more important?
Yeah, I like to joke that for the first 20 years of my career, I worked in what I call the logistical or 3D field. And the last 10, I've worked in the quantum field. That to me is, basic, but important. Listen, I wrote 8 books about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying it's not important, right? And novelty is the only thing they have in their toolbox. And the only thing I had in my toolbox, and it worked until it doesn't work, right? Like how many more fantasies, role plays, tools, toys can you come up with that will create enough of a sense of novelty after you've run through all of them that you can both agree on? And I've done it all. And I even share some of them in this book, the fantasy box and all of that. Great. And novelty is so important. But eventually you run out. If you're going to be married for a long time or together for a long time, eventually you're going to run out of new things, and this never gets old. And what we're looking for with novelty is the same thing that sex magic delivers, right? So it's not an either or, it's a yes and both.
Intensity. So what you're speaking to is the dopamine piece. Mm-hmm. So it's not intensity like we fight all the time and it's so intense. It's
no.
Yeah, yes.
I'm talking about that like rush of excitement. That's what we're all looking for, right? In the early stage of relationship, you're in the infatuation stage. That's what scientists call it, where you can't get enough of each other and you're going at it like rabbits. Why? Because everything is new. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere between 3 months to 3 years, depending on how quickly you get to know each other, how much time you spend together, or are spending together, how quickly you commit and create safety in the relationship, how quickly you show your true authentic selves and your socks are on the floor and, whatever. Then you move to the attachment stage, which we want because that's the only way we can sustain love. Not to mention society wouldn't function if we all stayed in the infatuation stage, So naturally we move to the attachment stage, which is a longer lasting, more intimate form of of love and of connection that can really sustain itself, but you lose that dopamine hit. So then couples are like, let me find something new, novelty, novelty, novelty. And that's great. But then the novelty wear, then you run out of things to be new. Okay, so now let's go have sex with a stranger. Now let me choke you until, whatever it is, right? And those things are fine too. But like I said, they can be risky. And I see more and more couples and porn hasn't helped this, but more and more couples really struggling in this way. And I call it looking for spice in all the wrong places because this brings you closer together. It's relationship supporting. It takes you deeper rather than looking for the spice outside yourself. You're finding it inside yourself and between the two of you.
I love that. I like the spice inside makes me want like a pumpkin latte too, but it might just be the fall season. Okay, so there's so much information here, and we are shortly wrapping up. Before we learn more about your book, if you could choose some top tools, concepts, ideas, just kind of like in a nutshell that you hope readers take away from Sex Magic, what would that be?
Well, a lot of what we've been saying, right? That the power to create that deep, exciting connection is available to you without having to put your relationship at risk. And these practices are not hard. They require a certain amount of mind-body connection, which is why I always suggest with most of this book is like super heavy on like tangible things to do, exercises, techniques. I wouldn't even call them exercises, but you want to practice them on your own first, kind of master it a little bit, and then do it with your partner. Ideally, that's the easiest way. But you will find that you're having, full body orgasms, that you are experiencing and delivering a level of pleasure. I mean, I did this. I used my husband as my guinea pig, lucky him, on everything. And he is not into metaphysical stuff at all, like zero. Doesn't believe in any of it. He just pats me on the head and says, go on with your bad self. And I practiced all of these things on him first, and I wouldn't tell him. He's not doing it with me. And I would watch how he responded. And I'd be like, whoa, he's feeling this, right? Like I could tell. And then afterwards I'd be like, hey, what was that? Like, did you notice that this is what I was doing? And he'd be like, okay, that was amazing. But, I don't. So you don't even have to tell your partner what you're doing. But the point is that it will be felt by both of you. And it's great when you can both participate in it. So I think that's like a key part is that you can have a long-term monogamous relationship with deep intimacy and connection. I want you to move through and work with your inhibitions. I want you to become more embodied and more in your body, which will serve all areas of your life. And as you do that and learn these practices, the sexual pleasure and creative energy inside you and between you is astronomically increased.
Sold.
You have so much more that you could share, and we know how busy you are, and thank you for taking the time, even though we could keep you forever, but that's very selfish, so we won't do that. We're listening to what you've shared today, and we want people to be able to find all of your work. So I know you can buy your book anywhere, and Sex Magic came out, I believe, last summer. And this is, we're recording this near the end of 2025, but I know people can buy that. And you're a New York Times bestselling author as well. Very impressive collection of 9 other books besides Sex Magic. So if folks want to buy Sex Magic, they want more from Dr. Laura Berman, and they want to get your other books, where can they find more of you?
Well, I would say first and foremost, if you go to my website, drlauraberman.com, but in particular, if you go to either drlauraberman.com/sex magic, or even to healwithlaura.com and click on the Sex Magic thumbnail there, you will find all kinds of resources there, not only for the digital versions of the book, but also for you. And at the top of my website on drlauraberman.com, there is a little quiz. What do you really want out of love? And it's one of the most powerful things you can do. You literally take the quiz and it will tell you the 2 primary feelings you particularly most want to feel in your love relationship. And then if you start practicing feeling that feeling and cultivating that feeling inside you on the daily, even if it has nothing to do with your partner or your relationship, just looking for opportunities that make you feel that way. So let's say playful, right? You're walking down the street, you see a playground, take a second and hop on the swing, right? Or someone invites you to a dance party and all right, I'm committed to being playful, so I'm going to do that, right? The more you cultivate the energy of that which you want to feel, I promise you, your life will meet you there, including your partner. And so if you are either looking for love or you want your partner to show up differently in love, get clear on how you want to feel. And you can take that quiz, and you can follow me on all the platforms at Dr. Laura Berman. And on YouTube, most of my videos are about sex techniques and sex, and that's at Dr. Laura Berman Official.
Okay. Do you think that will be your last book? Oh, you don't have to say it on it. I'm hoping not. I
already know it's not.
Okay.
Because I just finished one that's coming out in the fall, next fall of 2026, but it's not about sex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear more. Well, really, I can't thank you enough for being here with us, Dr. Berman. And everyone, go get some sex magic in your life. Go get some quantum love in your life. Go check out Laura Berman's work. Take the quiz on her website. And she is also a columnist for USA Today. So you can check out her work often. I don't know how often you write, because I know
it's sporadic.
It's sporadic, but you're a syndicated radio host. I'm so excited that you were here with us, and hopefully we can have you back again when your next book comes out, or just in between. And everyone out there, go ahead and support Shameless Sex. Your support helps more people find Dr. Laura Berman's work, as well as all the other amazing guests that we have on our show. And look at Laura Berman was on our show, everyone. Like high fives. And we couldn't do this show without you. So remember to review us on your favorite podcast app and give us 5 stars. If you have less to give, then I'd say just don't waste your time. Okay. Then move on and keep reading. Never stop learning, everyone. That's the most important thing to help you have more shameless sex and more sex magic in your life. All right, you all. We will see you again next Tuesday for another episode. Ciao for now.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.